What's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L, and I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute. Now listen, this next video, bro, is, I don't know, man. It gives me sort of an eerie feeling. It gives me an eerie feeling. You can tell I'm excited about it. I'm volume all loud. But the video is the top 10 scary last words from prison inmates. Now, last words, bro, like, you can imagine. Don't think about what you would think about. The typical thing would be the last words from a prison inmate, you know, like, I'm sorry, please forgive me, different things like that. My mind, as psychotic as it probably is, goes somewhere different. So I'm thinking it's some outlandish stuff about to be in this top 10, bro, and I'm anxious, but I'm not anxious to hear it at the same time. I don't know what it's gonna do to me. So either way, we're gonna get into it, man. Top 10 scary last words from prison inmates. If you're new to the channel, man, hit the subscribe button and join the fam. Here we go.
Before a convicted felon is executed by lethal injection or in the electric chair, it is usually customary for the criminal to have one last opportunity.
Why do we even want to know their last words? And I'm not asking that as trying to be, you know what I mean, an a-hole about it without getting demonetized from YouTube. Shout out to them. But why do we even want to know? Like, what is the
from the web?
Oh, man, see, that's scary right there. Your phone be listening to you, bro. I didn't touch my phone. I'm sitting here talking to y'all, and it automatically listens and picks up, and then it's about to give me results about what I'm saying, bro. They're watching and listening to us at all times. But anyway, back to the video, man. Why would we even want to know? Why would we want to know what the last words of a guy who's about to receive lethal injection? I don't know. That question just made me think, made me ponder.
Opportunity to address the public with their final last words. Sometimes inmates take this opportunity to make peace with their actions, while others say a chilling statement that is aimed to shock or upset people. There have been a ton of chilling last words from inmates right before they take their last breaths. So you know what? Let's take a look at this. This is the top 10 scary last words from prison inmates. Starting things off, number 10, we have Robert Alton Harris. He said, "You can be a king or a street sweeper, but everyone dances with the Grim Reaper." He was arrested on July 5th in 1978 when him and his brother...
Now decipher that. Just basically saying it don't matter who you are, you all got your judgment day. We all gonna dance with somebody. We gotta meet our maker at some point in time is basically what he just said.
They hijacked a car with 2 teenage boys in it. They ordered them to drive to a remote location where the brothers brutally murdered them, and then they used the vehicle as a getaway car when they robbed a San Diego bank. Robert Harris was arrested just 1 hour after the robbery, and he was charged with murder and auto theft, kidnapping, burglary.
Terrible criminal. You was caught an hour after. You didn't have no type of escape plan, bro. You made it to as far as to say we're gonna rob this place, and that's it. That's as far as you made it. You got caught an hour at
and bank robbery. One of the arresting officers was the father of one of the murdered boys, but he didn't realize that the victim was his son until later. He wasn't even able to recognize his son's face. That's how violent the murder was. Robert Harris was sentenced to death in 1979. After many appeals, he was finally executed in San Quentin's gas chamber on April 21st, 1992. Moving up this list with George Engel in at number 9. He was an anarchist who didn't like to follow any sort of rules or regulations. He was involved with a lot of activism and protests in the Chicago area. A protest bombing took place in Haymarket Square in Chicago that resulted in the death of 7 police officers, 4 civilians, and a lot of other people who were seriously injured. George Engel was actually at home playing cards while this riot broke out, and he was arrested the next day and charged with conspiracy in the bombings. He was convicted and sentenced to hanging, but before he took his last breath, he said, "Hurrah for anarchy. This is the happiest moment of my life." Roger Keith Coleman.
So you're sentenced to death by hanging, and your last words, "This is the best day of my life." How? Somebody help me out right there. It's not computing. It's not registering. How? I don't even see the joke there.
Coleman makes his last statements in at number 8. His case gained nationwide attention and major controversy because he maintained his innocence the whole time during his conviction and even right before he was executed. During his final last words, he said, "An innocent man is going to be murdered tonight. When my innocence is proven, I hope Americans will realize the injustice of the death penalty as all other civilized countries have." He was convicted in Virginia for assaulting and murdering his sister-in-law on the day that he has been laid off from work. After his death, the DNA evidence was reanalyzed, and in January 2006, the governor announced that the testing of the DNA evidence has conclusively proven that he was guilty of the crime. Okay, that's great and all, but why don't you think you should have done 1,000 tests on the DNA before you executed him?
That's what I was about to stop and say, but I was gonna see if he was gonna lead into that. Like, come on, bro. Like, after you're gonna after. Like, you want to be without a shadow of a doubt before you take somebody out, don't you think? Really? Like, you want to turn on over every stone, you know what I mean? You want to make sure that you're sure that you're sure.
It makes no sense. What if the DNA evidence proved that he wasn't guilty? What would the press conference look like then? Oops, we made a massive mistake and killed an innocent man. My bad. And now at number 7, we have Timothy McVeigh. He infamously said, "I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul." If you guys remember, he was the one behind the Oklahoma City bombing, which killed 168 people and injured over 680 others. This bombing is actually the deadliest act of domestic terrorism in the United States. His execution date was set for June 11, 2001, and he made a request to have it publicly televised, but this motion was denied. He invited a composer to perform classical music on the night of his execution, and he requested to have a Catholic chaplain.
You have got to be, I just want to punch him in the face. Like, you wanted your death televised? Why? Like, they really should do, honestly, man, they should do like studies of the brain on some of these guys, man. Studies of their brain and how and why. That's what you should be figuring out, how and why. Those are the two that you should be focused on.
He also requested 2 pints of mint chocolate chip ice cream as his last meal. He was executed by lethal injection, and his wait to be executed was way shorter than most inmates waiting on death row. He only spent about 4 years on death row, while most inmates spend an average of 15 years. The infamous Jeffrey Dahmer is next up at number 6. He was sentenced to 15 consecutive life terms for murdering 17 men and boys in the Milwaukee area, and this is between 1978 and 1991. He was also heavily into necrophilia, and he kept his victims' body parts in the freezer so that he can just eat them later. The interesting part of this story is that Jeffrey Dahmer wasn't given the death penalty. His inmate actually beat him to death because he said that Jeffrey Dahmer was a sick and creepy man. And yeah, he was. He used to make this person food look like human body parts, and he would cover them in ketchup to resemble blood. So according to Jeffrey Dahmer's murderer, his last words were, "I don't care if I live or die, go ahead and kill me." And now at number 5, we have Tom Blackjack.
Where does he rank on like the sickest men ever list? Like, we got to create that list. Like, the sickest men ever. Sickest guy, just the sickest list. We'll call it something. We'll figure it out. But where does he rank on that list?
Ketchum. He was an outlawed cowboy who murdered someone in 1895. After that, his gang fled to New Mexico, where they committed more robberies before he was captured during an unsuccessful attempt to rob a train. He was quickly arrested, put on trial, found guilty, and sentenced to death by hanging. When his execution date arrived, it was the biggest public display in the area because he was the first person to be hanged for a train robbery in New Mexico. However, things didn't go as smoothly as they hoped. Before he was hanged, he said this: "I'll be in hell before you start breakfast, boys. Let her rip." And right after that, he said the rope completely decapitated him, and it is said that his headless body landed on its feet and stayed standing upright for quite some time. John Wayne Gacy had 3 famous last words, and this comes into number 4. He kept it short and sweet when he said, "Kiss my ass." I don't know about you guys, but I think I would have, a lot more to say for my final words than "kiss my ass." But then again, he was a textbook serial killer who didn't really have any emotions. He was known as the Killer Clown because he used to dress up as Pogo the Clown and perform at many charitable events and birthday parties. He took the lives of at least 33 young boys in Illinois, and he would bury their bodies underneath his home. So when he was convicted of sexual assault in 1968, the police were
Bro, and when you look at these people, they look like normal, regular people to you, man. So I say that to say, man, you just don't know who somebody is. Walk out your front door today, look at your neighbor that you probably don't know, and then say, do I really know this person? And then think about this video.
were able to find all of the dead bodies that he tried to cover up. Despite a bunch of corpses being found underneath his own home, he maintained his innocence. But he was found guilty in 1980 because there was just so much compelling evidence against him. He was given multiple death penalties and life sentences, and finally, after being on death row for 14 years, he was executed by lethal injection. Aileen Wuornos is up next at number 3. Aileen had a terrible childhood that was full of abuse and abandonment, so it's almost no surprise that she went on a killing rampage that would define her as America's most infamous female serial killer. She worked as a prostitute, and she killed 7 men that picked her up along the highway. Aileen said that all of her murderers were out of
Caught us in our most vulnerable state, fellas. Your most vulnerable state. Gosh.
Defense, but she was also convicted and sentenced to death for 6 of the murders. She was executed by lethal injection.
Look at that face, bro. Imagine rolling over to that in the middle of the night. Jesus. Nah.
On October 9, 2002, but before she died, she said this: "I just like to say I'm sailing with the Rock, and I'll be back like Independence Day with Jesus, June the 6th. Like the movie, big mothership of all, I'll be back." I don't even know what this even means, but I am pretty scared. And June 6th, what happens on June 6th? Carl Panzram's last words makes it onto this list at number 2. You probably don't recognize his name, but he is actually known as one of the most sadistic American serial killers of all time. He had more than a dozen aliases, and no one knew anything about what he has done for years until he was captured in November 1928. Before his death, he confessed to killing 21 people and sexually harming 1,000 males. Is this real life right now? And right before he was hanged, he said, "In my lifetime, I have murdered 21 human beings. I have committed thousands of burglaries, robberies, larcenies, arsons, and last but not least, I've committed sodomy on more than 1,000 male human beings." That is just sickening, and for all those reasons, I'm not the least bit sorry for this guy. The Vampire of Dusseldorf.
Like, you can only hope somebody's soul like that gets what it deserves even in the afterlife, man. Like, fam, like you did nothing else with your life but that. You didn't have time to do anything else with those type of numbers.
Dwarf falls onto our list at number 1. He is known as a vampire because he would occasionally attempt to drink the blood from his victims' wounds while they were still alive. But eventually he was arrested and sentenced to death by beheading because he committed a series of murders and sexual assaults. He even admitted to killing a 9-year-old girl. It is confirmed that he murdered at least 9 people, but the police suspected that he brutally murdered a lot more people. So one evening before his death, he ordered a Wiener Schnitzel, a bottle of white wine, and fried potatoes, and the next morning he was taken to the guillotine to have his head chopped off. But before he left this world, he made one last scary statement that probably haunted the people that were at his execution. He said, "Tell me, after my head has been chopped off, will I still be able to hear, at least for a moment, the sound of my own blood gushing from the stump of my head? That would be a pleasure to end all pleasures." I mean, yeah, after hearing that, I'm definitely gonna have nightmares, and if that wasn't enough, his mummified head is on display right now in a Wisconsin museum after doctors...
Are you serious? His head is on in a museum. That's what we want to do?
tried to cut it open to find reasons behind his evil.
I guess so. I get it now. I was even asking for the why and the how earlier, so I guess I got what I wanted. Wow.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Well, there you guys have it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you.
I told y'all, man, I figured this video was gonna be crazy. Satanic, sadistic, all that type of stuff like that, man. Just thinking of what some of these people did, bro. And then they had like little to no remorse about it. And their last words were just, like, thank your lucky stars, bro, that you weren't living around some of these people, man, or you could have been a victim. Man, prayers to the families that were affected by these people. Just prayers and condolences, man. Jeez. It's your boy L, man. Y'all get at me in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Leave a like, share the video, subscribe, and stick around and stay tuned to the next reaction, man. I'm out. Peace, y'all. Stay solid. Hey.